Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, January the 8th edition, January 8th, 2026 edition of Douglas Now Live. The first show, the first Douglas Now Live of the new year. I hope everyone has had a wonderful new year thus far. It's hard to believe that we're already a week in to 2026. Yes, I have written 2025 more times than I care to admit, and I will do so until about July. Then I'll get used to the year being 2026. A couple of things I want to go over with here briefly with you tonight. We've got a little bit of news out of the county commission meeting. Now, this was Monday morning, and the first county commission meeting of the year is always a long meeting because in addition to the regular business that you have to cover, there are also a lot of contracts and resolutions and things like that the commissioners have to go over at the beginning of the year. They also do this at the end of the year. And if you followed our county commission coverage in November and December, you saw that there were a lot of rezoning requests, a lot of public hearings, a lot of first readings, all of that. And we have to wrap that up. You have the first reading at one meeting and then the public hearing and the vote in the second one. And there were a lot in December. So we had to cover those in January. In addition, we had the board appointments and we had the alcohol license renewals, and they do a lot of that stuff all in one item. They don't go individually. For example, all the alcohol license renewals that were compliant were done in one agenda item. They didn't go through and list every one of them. So we're still working on getting some of that information together and making sure that we've got all that accurate. But a couple things we can talk about here. Our picture, Mr. Ben Vickers retired from the tax assessors board after 34 years. And here he is with a certificate, not a certificate, but a plaque, pictured here with his family. And of course, a lot of the commissioners spoke and wished him well, thanked him for his service, and wished him well. And you know what? This reminds me, all right? This reminds me of the Kathy Mattea song, 18 Wheels and a Dozen Roses, where the protagonist of the song, the truck driver, is retiring. He's coming off the road after 30 years, and the song starts out that, a gold watch doesn't seem like a whole lot for spending 30 years running up and down the interstate, words to that effect. And the song is right. And I sit here and think about this. I mean, certainly a nice gesture by the county commission. And I don't know what you do. I don't know what would be appropriate for 34 years for the thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of hours that Mr. Vickers gave of his time away from his family, time away from his friends to serve the county on the assessors board. The gazillion phone calls he got, all the stuff that you have to do when you're a member of one of these boards, and to do it for 34 years. So congratulations to Mr. Vickers on his retirement, and thank you very much for your service. One thing that they do at the beginning of each year is, of course, they appoint a new chairman for the county commission. And in this particular photo, and I'm not sure the orientation on your screen, but as I look at the photo here on the right in the white shirt, Mr. Johnny Wayne Jowers, he was the county commission chairman last year. In the very back, you have A.J. Dovers. You can see him taller than everyone else. A.J. is now the new county commission chairman. Mr. Jowers passed the gavel to him at Monday's meeting. So congratulations, A.J. We know that that you're looking forward to that opportunity. They rotate that out every year. So with the number of commissioners that we have, if you stay on the commission long enough, you will be chairman. You will be chairman at least once. And I want to say that that AJ is up for re-election this year. We have some county election news. We're going to get to that. One of the things that they did, they approved the qualifying fees and announced the qualifying dates and all that. And we're going to get you something on that as well. So again, we'll have more from the county commission meeting here in a day or so. Bad news today, a house fire on True Love Road near the Bethel community. This happened probably 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. You can see the opposite end of the house is where most of the smoke is. As we understand it, when the fire started, it was in the carport, then it spread to the rest of the house. No injuries reported, but of course you can see the folks here. It is a sad and emotional time to watch something like this happen, to watch your house go up in flames. So Coffee County Fire Department responded quickly and did a good job putting the fire out, but still significant amount of damage, and folks are displaced, and it's not the way that you want to start out, any week or any month, but certainly not the new year. If you looked out toward the southeast of Coffee County, you could see the smoke coming off of the fire for quite a distance. So we're glad nobody was hurt. Certainly we always say it, you can replace household items and things like that, but there are a lot of memories there, and a lot of irreplaceable things got destroyed. So our thoughts and prayers go out to those who suffered loss today in the house fire. The Georgia Lottery. This is not a local story. All right. So this is not, and every once in a while we'll do a story that's not something that happens in Douglas and Coffee County, or something that is necessarily immediately relevant to Douglas and Coffee County. But what I find interesting about this, okay, first of all, this is a historic jackpot, Mega Millions jackpot, $983 million. The winning ticket was sold at a Publix in Noonan, I believe it was. And it was sold like in November. And you've got some time to come forward if you're a lottery winner. It was Friday, last Friday, a week from tomorrow, that the winner came forward to claim the largest lottery prize in Georgia history. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is just a point of discussion, right? So it was a $983 million jackpot. You obviously got to pay taxes on that. And there are a couple of different ways you can get your money. You can take a lump sum payout, which is less than the $983 million. Then you have to pay taxes on that. Or you can take annual payments for the rest of the lottery winner's life, or until the amount of the jackpot is reached. And I'm not sure what I would do if I won the lottery like that. Now, first thing you have to do to win the lottery is to play the lottery. And I don't play the lottery very often. Every once in a while I will play, just a few times a year. I might buy a scratch off or something like that, but I buy the $5 scratch offs. All right. I don't buy the $20, $30, $40, whatever tickets. I don't do that. All right. I don't have enough money to buy lottery tickets. All right. And I know that the odds are slim to none that I'm going to win. So I'm not banking on any of that, literally or figuratively. All right. But if I did win a major jackpot like that, I'm not sure exactly what I would do, but listen to this. So the winning ticket worth $983 million. The lump sum payout was $453.6 million, but that's before taxes. So you're going to pay, a lot of that in taxes. You're looking at, $100 or more million. So you're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 to $300 million that you're going to get out of a $983 million jackpot. Now, I believe I could take $250 million and make it last for the rest of my life. And of course, it's always fun to sit here and think about what you would do with that kind of money. Certainly, I have lived my life on a lot less than $250 million. I would like to think that if I did win a jackpot like that, that I would set up some type of foundation and use that money for good, give back to support nonprofits and that kind of thing, scholarships and what have you. I certainly don't have any need to go out and spend that kind of money. I do not need a house that big. I do not have that many cars. But I will tell you this, or need that many cars, but I can say this. I do have a wish list of a few trinkets that I would pick up if I did have that kind of money. But I also don't think that I would go overboard with it. Again, I do not think I'm that pretentious. but I would very much like to use that money for good. And I can think of a list of organizations off the top of my head that I would like to support. But it's just an interesting discussion that you start out with a $983 million jackpot, and you're probably going to end up with $250 million out of that. Again, a lot of money. A lot of money that I do believe that I could make stretch. I'm 53 years old, turned 54 this year. I've probably got 25 good years left. I think I could take $250 million and make it stretch for 25 years. With the catastrophic injury that Tyreek Hill suffered earlier this year, you may be thinking that Coffee County did not have an NFL player in the league this year, and that is not true. We had Kentavious Street, who plays with the Falcons. Now, I believe at the time that Tyreek was hurt, Kentavious was not on the 53-man roster for the Falcons. He started the season on the practice squad, and a few weeks in, he was signed to the regular team, to the 53-man roster, and he had a pretty good season. He played in about 7 or 8 ball games. The Falcons, of course, the NFL regular season ended on Sunday. The Falcons finished their year against the New Orleans Saints. Street played. He had 4 tackles and a sack against New Orleans. It was a meaningless game for Atlanta, but whether Atlanta won or lost had implications for other teams. If Atlanta won, the Carolina Panthers would make the playoffs. If Atlanta lost, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would make the playoffs. All 3 teams had identical records, but Atlanta sort of held the key there. And those 2 teams played the day before. They played on Saturday. And then Atlanta, what happened between Atlanta and New Orleans, who are also division rivals, determined who went to the playoffs. The Falcons won, finished the season on a 4-game winning streak, but it was all for naught. And the Carolina Panthers ended a long postseason drought and are headed to the playoffs. They will probably lose this weekend. All right. You're 8-9 going into the playoffs. You didn't have a good season. You're not a very good team. You're probably not going to do well. But get on the field and decide it there. But, yeah. Whoever went from that division was probably not going to advance. But anyway, Street finished with 4 tackles and a sack against New Orleans for the season. He had 21 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. Now, I believe he's a defensive tackle. 6'2", 6'3", something like that, 315 pounds, big guy. Now, Kentavious did not graduate from Coffee High School. I believe he was born here, grew up in Douglas, and then when he was in high school, he left and went to North Carolina. He played his high school ball up there, went to North Carolina State. He's been in the league, I believe, now for 7 years. He's had a pretty solid career, and he's been playing here in Atlanta for the last couple of years. So, good season by Kentavious, and hope that he stays with Atlanta, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get to go see him play next year. That's what I would like to do, and I would like to see Tyreek Hill play in the NFL whenever he comes back, and I believe he will, although there are some questions as to whether or not he will actually make it back. But I believe he's going to recover, and have my doubts that he will be back in Miami, which, if you followed the headlines today, Miami fired their head football coach. You kind of knew that was going to happen. There was a lot of talk at the beginning of the season that McDaniel wouldn't make it to the end of the year. He did, but he's not going to make it until next year. We have a couple of former Trojans playing college football who have utilized the transfer portal and will be playing for other teams next year. First one here, Jerzavion Grant. He played at Georgia Military. Again, we have several former Trojans up there playing with the Georgia Military Bulldogs. Grant, offensive lineman, played in 10 games this year. I want to say he was a redshirt freshman, but I know he played in 10 games, and he is headed to Edward Waters in Jacksonville. Now, the Bulldogs had a good season this year, and the Trojans who were up there contributed significantly to the Bulldogs' success. You had Grant and Kyler Smith. They cleared the way for Tyrese Woodgett, who was second-team All-American. And then we had kicker Tug Vaughn, who did really well as well. Field goals, extra points, what have you. So congratulations to Jerzavion. He is not the only former Trojan to utilize the portal, though, either. Jairus Carter, freshman linebacker at the University of West Georgia, is headed to Mercer. He is now a Mercer Bear. He played 5 games this season. As a true freshman, he had 21 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a forced fumble, and an interception. Jairus led all freshmen on West Georgia's defensive unit with 21 tackles. Now, he's headed to Mercer. And what's kind of interesting, there are 10 West Georgia Wolves headed to Mercer. And the reason why is that Mercer hired, just recently after the season ended, hired West Georgia's head coach Joel Taylor. So you've got 10 of his former players are headed with him to Mercer. Now, Mercer's a good program. Mercer's a really good program. They've done well over the last couple of years. They also have NIL money. I want to say that you can go to Mercer and get an NIL deal. So that opens up some potential opportunities there. But the biggest opportunity that it opens up, one, it's a step up, I believe, as far as academics go. And it is also significantly closer to Douglas than Carrollton. So it'll be a lot easier to go see Jairus play. Be easier for his family and friends to get up there. I would like to see him play. It's one of the things I want to do. I didn't do it this year. I want to make a list again of our players we have, and I want to try to get to some of their games next year so that we can get some photos. But we've had some players doing some really good things this year in college football. And speaking of college football, 10 minutes ago, if everything is on schedule, and I will find out because I'm going to head to the house in just a second and watch the rest of the game. You have the first semifinal game in the college football playoff. You have Ole Miss against Miami right now. Now, listen, I don't dislike Miami. All right, I used to go to Miami quite a bit, and I like the area. I like South Florida. I am not a Miami hater, but I'm pulling for Ole Miss. I think of the 4 teams that are left in the playoff, Ole Miss is probably the worst one and maybe the least likely to win the national championship. But I'm pulling for them because, of course, what happened with Lane Kiffin. Now, I would much rather see Georgia and Miami playing each other, and I think the NCAA and the College Football Playoff Committee and all the folks in and around the game would rather see a Georgia versus Miami contest because of the storyline there between Georgia and its former quarterback, Carson Beck, who now plays for Miami. That would have been a lot of fun. There would have been more drama headed into that game. All right. But Lane Kiffin told Ole Miss they're not good enough. When he went to LSU, he said, look, you're not good enough for me. You're not going to win here. I have a better chance to win at LSU. So I'm leaving you for what I think is a better destination. I would love nothing more than for Ole Miss to turn around and win the national title and give a gigantic middle finger to Lane Kiffin. And I say that I don't dislike Lane Kiffin either. He's a funny guy. He's got a great sense of humor. I love hearing his interviews. But everybody knew this was going to happen, right? He's going to go to Ole Miss, and he's going to have some success. A better program, a larger program, a more prestigious program, may be the better way to put it, is going to offer him a job, and he is eventually going to leave. But Ole Miss has an opportunity to do something really special, and I would like to see that happen in the absence of their head coach. And look, I was one of those who wrote him off. I said, this is a foregone conclusion that Georgia's going to win in the quarterfinal game. It's just a matter of by how much. And, of course, that did not happen. And I've been a little butthurt since. So it pains me to pull for Ole Miss after what they did to Georgia. But since Georgia's out, I'm going with Ole Miss. Now, the second semifinal game, which will take place tomorrow, Oregon and Indiana. I am not an Indiana fan, all right? And I did not believe that Indiana had a chance to win. I thought it was a fluke. But I believe that of these 4 teams remaining, Indiana's probably the best. And what happens tomorrow is probably the de facto national championship game. Whoever wins tomorrow is probably going to win the whole thing. So, again, Oregon and Indiana are certainly the 2 best teams left in it. And when you started cutting the field down, they were probably right there on that short list of best teams. But this is what I want to leave you with as we go into these semifinal games. The goal of the college football playoff is not to choose the best team in college football. It is to make money for the conferences and for the networks. There are tens of millions, if not billions of dollars that change hands during the playoffs, during these games, the media coverage, all of that stuff. It is first and foremost a financial arrangement, a business opportunity disguised as the tournament to choose the best team in college football. Now, the BCS was the same way. They just did it with 2 teams, right? All of this with sports and with streaming and where we are, it's all about generating revenue and making money. If in the process you get the best 2 teams playing for the championship, that is an added bonus, all right? I don't know if you know this or not, but the college football playoff is not sanctioned by the NCAA. It is not an NCAA event, all right? It is sanctioned by the CFP or by CFP Administration LLC, a separate entity from the NCAA. So whoever the national champion is not necessarily, it's considered to be the NCAA national football champion, the Division I national champion, but it is not necessarily that way because the NCAA does not sanction the playoff, all right? They don't do it. So the underlying reason for this is simply financial. Now, the old BCS used to get it right most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time when the 2 teams played each other in the BCS national title game, they were the 2 best teams in the country. Okay, I think particularly at some point during this playoff, the 2 best teams in the country are going to play, and I think that's probably tomorrow with Indiana versus Oregon. All right, now, certainly Miami and Ole Miss have earned the right to be in the playoff. There was some discussion about Miami, but they have done what they needed to do. They did it during the season, and then, of course, they've done it on the field since then. So I don't think you can have a real big problem with any of these 4 teams in here. Okay, now, certainly when you take the other teams in the first round, you're taking Tulane and what have you, they're not the best teams. All right, and if you want to be inclusive and make sure everyone has a seat at the table, no, because there are a lot of better teams than Tulane that didn't make the playoff. If you were truly concerned about the best teams, the absolute best teams, then you would not include teams from that group of 5 because they're just not as good. They're just not, and you can look at their strength of schedule and tell that they're not as good. But that's not the goal. The goal is to make money. And this 12-team playoff is going to make money. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to see the 2 best teams in the country play. You're going to see that tomorrow with Indiana and Oregon. And then the other 2 teams have earned the right to be in the playoff. All right. So, yeah, in that first round, you didn't have the best teams in the country in there. Now, as we've whittled it down, you do. All right. Whether you like these teams or not. All right. And what we have to realize as college football fans is that college football is changing. The system that we grew up watching. Now, my son, Zine, his age group, his contemporaries, they grew up watching a different system than we did. Okay. I still remember when you had split national champions. I remember very well, I believe it was 1990, where you had Georgia Tech and Colorado named national college football champions. I remember that very well. And it happened at other times. And you would have national championships determined between 2 teams that didn't even play each other. You'd have, a couple teams playing over here in one bowl game and a couple teams playing over here, and a team in the, Cotton Bowl won, and, so-and-so over here in the Fiesta Bowl lost, then somebody who played in the Orange Bowl was a national champion. I mean, it was crazy stuff. All right. So the only way to truly settle the argument is to do a full playoff. To take the top teams in the country, if you want to use the AP top 25, make it, extend it to an even number. If you want to go up to 32, because they rank beyond 25, we just see the top 25 teams. But if you want to take the top 32 Division I teams in the country and put them in a tournament and play like they do the FCS, the Division I FCS tournament, which nobody argues about that. Nobody fusses about how that playoff is done. And I actually read about, it's a pretty fascinating way that they do it. And if you watch that game the other night, was it Montana State against Central Illinois, Southern Illinois State, something like that. They were the Cardinals. They looked like Louisville. That was a fantastic game. That was on Monday night. It was a phenomenal game, right? But nobody argues about the FCS playoff, the way it's done, because they do it in a better, more objective way. And the goal of the FCS tournament is to truly find the best team in that division. It's not with Division One. If you get it, it's a positive. But if you don't, as long as you make money for the networks and for the major conferences, primarily the SEC, the ACC, and the Big Ten, as long as you make money for those conferences, then it has been a success, regardless of who gets the trophy. So, as we watch our games tonight, or our game tonight or our game tomorrow, let us keep that in mind. This is not an NCAA sanctioned event. And the goal is to not necessarily find the best team. It's to make the most money. If you happen to find the best team while you make the most money, then that's all the mo better. All right? Let's take a look at our tower cam. I love the tower cam. We haven't done a nighttime view in a very, very long time. But again, we're out here on our tower at the 106.7 The Buck Studios here on West Walker Street. Looking back east toward Douglas, you can see the lights. And, of course, there's some houses back to our east. You can see lights coming off of those houses because the trees are down. We lost trees, of course, in Hurricane Helene, just like everyone else did. So the day started out pretty rough. It wasn't a very pretty day this morning, but it ended up finishing out pretty well. And looks like we're going to have good weather this weekend, headed for the final weekend of deer season. So, deer hunters, you got a couple of more days. And if there were any deer watching, I would tell them, stay put during the day. If you can see the sun, don't move. You'll survive another year, assuming, of course, you don't get shot from the road or get shot on someone in a peanut field under a permit. But, just hang in there a couple of more days. I did a little bit of deer hunting this year, and I would like to get one more deer to put in the freezer. As we used to eat a lot of deer meat. I didn't hunt for many years. Started back this year, and we've got a couple. I'd like to have at least one more for the freezer, and then maybe next year I will have more time and we can hunt. So that's our tower cam tonight. Actually looks kind of neat. You can see a few clouds up there still. I like that. I like that view. All right. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our first edition of Douglas Now Live here in 2026. We will be back on a regular schedule next week and looking forward to doing some different things. We have a few other projects in the context and under the umbrella of Douglas Now Live that we would like to do moving in. We sort of cut our teeth and felt our way through this technology and this format through the end of 2025 and headed into 2026. We want to do some neat things. So thank you again for watching. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And hey, listen, Ole Miss, let's go ahead and run this thing the rest of the way out. And poor old Lane Kiffin. And and there's something weird. Lane's going to get some money out of this. He's still going to get paid by Ole Miss if they go and win the national title. So I hate for that to happen, but I would really like to see them. It would be the ultimate middle finger to Coach Kiffin if Ole Miss goes through and wins it. And I don't dislike Lane Kiffin, but I would really like to see Ole Miss go ahead and take this national title. I think that would be a great story. That'd be a great way to end the college football season. Everybody have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time.